Mike with Mikey's board here. We're at the Sapphire plant in Prescott, Arizona. Richard Loftin here is going to give us a tour. Richard, you're the
plant manager.
You've been here how long?
Just over 6 years.
6 years?
Yep.
Taking it from rags to riches, I hear. Huh?
There you go.
All right. So this is the facility where all the metal parts from the Sapphire Legends lines are made. All the truck mounts, as well as with the Dragon.
Dragon heater, desiccant dehumidifier.
Okay. So we just walked in the main door. Richard's going to give us the limping tour. You'll have to excuse my speed, but such is life.
Yep.
So we got
some. This is where we store some of the machine parts, waiting to go on metro carts to go through the facility. We make all kinds of different parts. Here's a brass forging we get in. We bore the holes, put the threads.
That's all made here in-house?
This is all made here in-house. We get the raw forging and bore all the holes, add the threads, through poles, machine surfaces.
Are you machining these?
We're machining back brakes as well.
Back brakes?
Yeah. Another manifold we do for repair. This is that old snail shell heat exchanger. A bunch of brass tubes get welded into there.
So you're working with brass, stainless, titanium, I assume?
No titanium, aluminum. Another bracket on an 870 machine. We do several pulley assemblies. Are all made in-house.
You're making those pulleys?
We make them in-house, yeah. Some small aluminum pulleys as well. So just a little bit of everything.
Super impressive. And here's all the raw stock.
This is all the raw material for the machine shop.
You get that on camera, the raw stock. Pretty neat. How often are you refilling these trays here?
It's about a 2-week process depending upon what we're building, how many accessories at the time, because some of those are shafts for hose reels and stuff like that.
So over here on the right, that's your water cutter?
The water jet.
And I hear you're going to be either accompanying this with a laser jet or replacing it with a laser jet.
We're going to be replacing the water jet with a laser cutter.
A laser jet, you're cutting this plate here right now. You can see how slow it's moving. How fast are the laser going to cut that same piece?
The laser will amaze you. It's about 10 times faster.
10 times. So somebody did the math upstairs and figured out that laser's going to pay for itself.
Pay for itself quickly,
yeah. I assume this has a value for somebody, yeah. Maybe a granite countertop fabricator or something. Those waves in there, that's to channel the water in a certain direction? Or is
no, those are just to support the sheet metal in there and allow it's high pressure water with garnet sand, and the tank fills up with the garnet sand, so that allows the garnet to sink to the bottom.
And the PSI on that thing is?
About 25,000 PSI is what it's cutting at.
Your finger wouldn't stand a chance.
No, it would probably take it right off and polarize it at the same time.
So are you cutting out a frame here or what?
Those are pieces that go into truck mounts, yes.
So when it's done, it's all programmed. It'll shut itself off.
Yes.
Okay. Impressive. What's this big guy over here? Press.
That's the press brake where we bend all the metal. Yeah, this is a CNC lathe where this is our machine shop. That's where we turn all the parts that we make. This is the machining center, the mill where we mill different parts. Here's a thermostat housing on a 570. That's all made in-house.
Luckily it's lunchtime right now, or you probably wouldn't be able to hear us.
Right.
There's a lot going on in this facility. If you do a quick sweep around, you can see it's what did you say, 37,000 square foot?
Yes.
It looks like every inch of it's being used. Does any of your competition have this level of being able to create all your own parts? Their own parts?
As far as I know, most of our competition purchases most of their materials. They go to outside machine shops, outside fabricators in some cases.
And yet all the pricing on these machines are kind of competitive.
Right.
Kind of interesting. You think the guys that have to outsource would have to charge more.
Right.
Stuff coming from somewhere.
Yep.
See how you can use the pause button on there on moving around too slow. Alright. What do you got here?
CNC turret punch press. You load the sheet of material in that in, those vices clamp down on it, and they move over, go underneath this rotating head. Holds 52 tools in there, and this is a punching operation where it'll punch and nibble the sheet metal and give you finished parts that look similar to that. So a lot of the thinner gauge material we do in the punch press because it's much faster than doing it on the water jet.
52 different heads on that wheel there.
52 different tools go in that turret head,
wow.
And that turret will rotate as the material is being moved around underneath it.
What's a machine like that cost?
New, that machine today is probably $125,000.
I thought more. All this computer part of it, right?
Yeah. The computer system's dated a little. I think it's around 2000 model.
Yeah.
The computer is smaller now.
Still works, but
yeah, exactly.
on an LCD.
Cart equals one machine, and we have a second cart that we put the waste tank on.
Oh, I see.
This is a work order that tells you what the machine is we're building at the time. The color of the paper is actually what color we're going to powder coat it. And firing order numbers so we can keep everything in order, and it flows through the plant. So we're really a one-piece operation, one-piece flow.
So
we build machines one at a time.
71 1200. I assume that's a Pro 1200.
1200 unit, yes.
This will be the new version, or the...
This is still what we're currently building.
Still building that.
Yes. This is the end of them after this. So all your machine shop parts will go in these bins up on top. So you can see we've got some machine shop parts on here. Some tubing that gets flared is done over here, loaded on the cart. All the punch press parts go on here. As this flows down, a lot of water jet parts will go on here, and then it'll go to the press brake. It'll all get bent. Then this cart will flow to the welding department. Everything will be pulled off, welded together. The welded assemblies will go back onto it. It'll flow to powder coat. Parts will come off, get powder coated, go back on as powder coated parts. Then it's ready to go to the assembly line. Flows down the assembly line. The parts are taken off, the unit's built. The empty cart will come back around and start the process all over again.
Pretty slick. So these are all separate tinted off welding booths, right?
Correct.
And the red shower curtains are kind of keep the...
Kind of UV resistant, keep the sparks and the welding down so you don't burn your eyes walking by.
But you got to shift the guys that are in here virtually welding all day
long.
under their mask, and
yeah.
They get a break how often?
They'll weld an assembly, take it out back to the cart, grab the next assembly, and come back.
They're getting out,
they're getting out, breathing, and moving around.
And this is the March 16th. What's this building like in August 21st or so?
Middle of the summer, it's not bad. We have swamp coolers, so we turn the swamp coolers on, and it's not high humidity up here, so they work pretty well. And then in the wintertime, when it's cold out, there's heaters in the building, so it's pretty comfortable.
Take a peek at one of these?
Sure.
So will the same worker use the same booth all the time? He's got his own little
They move
setup.
around from time to time depending upon what we've got going on and where we need them, and if people are out on PTO. But you can see we've got a tool board with all the tools labeled that they need to do the job. Welding machine in the back, grinders hanging, so everything has a place and everything in its place. Kind of a 5S system.
And how many hours or days in creating this waste tank here?
The weld time on a waste tank currently is 3 to 4 hours.
After everything's been cut, they take the
parts
panels,
and start fitting them together.
3 to 4 hours of running the bead on there?
Yep. Yeah, and it's welded inside, welded outside. So
some thick aluminum there. What's the
3/16?
3/16.
190. Yep.
Yeah. Powder coated in and out, right?
Mostly outside.
What's inside? Treated with anything?
It's marine grade aluminum, so it'll hold up to the water and the moisture.
Gotcha.
This is all the weld fixtures for a 570 machine. We created these fixture carts. We used to have them on pallet racks. They get stacked on top of each other, damaged. You couldn't find the fixture you were looking for, and we wasted a lot of time. We created these fixture racks. Now everything's outlined. You know exactly where the fixture is that you need to use, and we have one of these for each different model. Works out really well. Yes.
We got 370 right there.
Yeah. And we do have one that takes the 170 and the Pro 1200, and one side's a 1200, the other side of the cart's the 170.
What's a 170?
A Rage.
Oh, that's what you referred to them. Okay. Makes sense. When's the 270 come along?
We actually started with that, and then we went to the Rage. So we got the Rage. And we use both sides of the cart.
One at a time. Got a bunch of waste tanks. Are you able to just quickly look at a waste tank and figure out what it's for by sight?
Yeah, pretty much. You can tell by the inlet and outlet on things.
Yeah.
I know there's not a bunch of different models.
Yeah. These,
Set on that engine up there.
you got some frames here, just came out of powder coating, right?
Yeah, so now we're moving over into the powder coat department.
These are what, 570 frames?
These are 570 frames.
These are, this is where the little fan mounts that channels air through the frame, coming out here to cool the blowers, correct? Or the
Up
belts.
under the belts,
Yeah. Was it like I said, it's like a 70 CFM system,
Right.
but you know, 70 CFM, it still drops the temperature there by what, 100 degrees or so.
Yeah, exactly.
Adding a lot of life.
It pulls in cool air from the front of the unit, blows down this side, comes up, will actually blow down this side as well. So you get the air from both sides blowing up onto the belts, and it cools them down about 100 degrees and increases the life 2 to 3 times over at least.
Ron say, or Mike say, the belt life was what, in the 2,500 hour range, something like that?
Yeah.
Pretty good. You got 2 painting booths or just like a sandblasting booth over here? Over the light.
This is a spray booth.
That's the oven
So
there.
yeah, so we wash the parts to clean them, hang them on the rack, take them into the oven to dry them, pull them out of the oven while they're still hot. There's 2 things that make the powder stick to the metal. It's an electrostatic process and the heat of the metal. So we get a nice thick coating by powder coating hot, and then it'll go back into the oven to cure. Needs to stay into the oven, bring the metal temperature up to 350 degrees and hold that for 10 minutes to get 100% cure on the powder.
What's that thumping sound that's coming from behind there?
That's a back pulsing on those filters in the back of the spray booth. So they'll draw the excess powder into the filters, and then they'll back pulse and drop the powder onto the floor. And then we simply clean that up, and it's a spray to waste. We'll discard that.
The excess powder doesn't get reused, right?
No, not at all. Yep.
Getting into heat exchanger territory. This is, that's an 870 tank, right? 4-inch ports.
Yep.
We peek inside there. That's a 570, 870. That's a massive design. So your blower protection filters are there.
Yep. Filter basket goes in here.
The whole floor is angled to this drain over here.
Yep.
So this is pretty much powder coated inside,
Yeah,
right?
it gets a lot of powder coating
Yeah.
inside. It's just tough to get way down into the bottom in some cases. So.
This is the exchanger off of an 870, I think.
That's a heat exchanger out of a 570.
570.
Yep.
870 is even bigger than that.
Yes.
Wow, monster.
That's completely sub-assembled, ready to go into a unit now.
What's that weigh?
That's 120 pounds, somewhere in that neighborhood.
You're say about the only regular maintenance is to keep a light film on your that shaft right there.
Yes, that'll shaft will move in and out, and open or close your diverter system.
And then every millennium you're going to want to clean out the tubes in there. That's
Yeah, the coils last fairly long because of the way they're designed with the copper fins on the outside. They don't build up with a lot of soot or exhaust on them, so they last pretty well.
You got the video tour of the construction of those. I don't know if you'd say it's complicated, but it's a pretty impressive design.
Yeah.
Nothing else like it, huh? So here's the fins. These are for what machine?
This is a coil assembly ready to go into a 570 water box.
And the smaller unit
This is a Pro 1200 coil, upper coil.
Upper coil.
Which will go into this housing here.
Okay.
It's referred to as our Vulcan heat exchanger on the current Pro 1200.
Well, that thing's solid.
This is a dual pass system. There's an inner coil and then there's an outer coil over the outside. So we run it through the lathe, roll it in one direction, reverse the lathe, roll it back over the top of itself. And that's how we get 60 feet of coil in this small package.
And all these essentially washers, they're being hand welded on there?
Yeah, we buy that as an assembly. They come in 20-foot straight pieces and we'll weld 2 or 3 lengths together.
Oh, okay. That's got to be done mechanically.
It is,
symmetry.
yeah.
Wow. All right. So that's
desiccant dehumidifiers.
okay. Building that whole thing from scratch here.
We are. We make all the parts in-house, do all the assembly and testing in-house, packaging.
And
This is your assembly line. All our parts are on the back on gravity feed shelving. It's a 2-bin system. When the bin in the front is empty, it goes down into the basket on the bottom. The parts department's right on the back side, so a parts handler will come, pull the empty bins, refill them, put them back in the back, so the assembly line workers never run out of components.
wow. This is a motor off of what? That's pretty
This
small.
is a 570 Kubota engine.
That's the new.
This is still the carbureted model.
Still the carbureted.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, there's the carb right there.
So this has just come out of the crates, and we're unpackaging it, adding some components and getting it ready to go onto the frame.
So being Kubota, that would go on a small ride-along mower, and what else? What other industry would use something
I
like
believe
that?
they use them in Bobcat tractors, stuff like that.
What's the horsepower on that motor?
31 horsepower.
31. And then what's this assembled here?
This is a 570 going together. That's got the Kubota engine on the front of it. Got the Heliflow Garner Denver blower on it.
This is the new Kubota?
No, this is still carbureted.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, parked over there. Okay, I got it.
General pump.
So on a belt change on this, you know, you got that panel assembled, but would you be doing it from this side?
The belts, these are the ones you would change most often. Well, they last a long time. But if you're doing these front ones, you pull the side hoods off and you can get in there from there.
And is there, where's the adjustment? How are you going to create slack in
You would
here?
loosen the pump up and slide it.
Slide it forward is going to take the tension off?
Yes, there's an adjusting.
Because it is a little off.
Yeah,
I
there's
see
an
that.
adjusting screw right here.
You probably
And that
still
would
have to
come
use a
back
flathead or something to get it
pry
off
the
of there.
belt off.
And then your little serpentine, how long is that lasting?
We've had pretty good luck with it. This is a factory Kubota belt, so it does pretty well. That just runs your alternator. So it's a simple belt to replace too, although these have to be removed. So if you're going to replace these, I would suggest you
Same
replace
time
that
while
one
you're in there.
the same time while
Yeah.
you're there.
That's roughly an hour-long endeavor for a average supply
Repair.
shop mechanic.
Sure. Yep.
So $90, $100 labor plus cost of the belts. And this is this a similar heat exchanger that's on the 1200? Is that charged?
Yeah, this is your coolant heat exchanger, which helps keep the oil in the motor cool.
Alright, very clean.
Yep.
And what do we got here? The old.
This is another 570, just a little further down the assembly line.
All right.
More components on it.
What's this little cooling container?
That's your radiator overflow coolant. This has your heat exchanger installed in it, your silencer installed, the exhaust hooked up. So the exhaust comes from the engine into the silencer, flows through the silencer, comes out of the silencer down into the heat exchanger. And it'll either travel through the center and go out the front, or it'll travel around the outside to heat the solution.
And if you ever had to get to the coils, you're going to remove this.
You remove this cover and then the coil can slide out.
Slide out. So from scratch, would you be able to say how many hours it takes to build up a 570?
570, I believe it's somewhere from first piece of sheet metal going into the plant to the finished unit going out the door is right around 55, 60 hours, right in that neighborhood.
And you're able to keep up with demand at this point?
Yes, we're doing pretty well.
So if somebody walks into a John Donner Interlink and says, I want a 570, there's not one on the shelf, they call over here.
It's usually a 5 to 7 day process to get it out of the plant, depending upon what the stock levels are.
Yeah, it's pretty reasonable. All right.
So we can step over here, we've got another sub-assembly area.
This is the whole control panel.
This is a control panel. We build all the wiring harnesses in-house. Basically done one piece of wire at a time. Cut the length, put the connectors on, build the harness, build the control panel. They're all labeled, so the assembly worker simply comes over, grabs this panel, takes it over to the unit, installs it, and starts hooking the wires up. Everything's built for them into the panel.
Are you laser printing these here in-house?
We are not.
You cut it, but then send it out for the printing?
Yeah, we cut it, we powder coat it, it goes out and gets silk screened to put all the writing on it.
And this stuff's pretty durable?
Yes.
So you got a master electrician here running this stuff, right?
Pretty much,
Guy
yeah.
understands all that?
Yeah.
And how's the longevity of all this stuff showing up? That's a lot of relays and solenoids.
It is, it's all holding up really well.
The fan is also cooling this area at all?
This
The
is
frame
on the
fan?
front of the machine up on top, and that fan blows through the frame and out the back. So this sees pretty cool air most of the time.
I've yet to hear of any complaints on the forum of guys messing these things up. It's all pretty durable stuff.
And it's all pretty well color-coded wires, so it's pretty easy to walk somebody through.
Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah.
You have your issue. So that's a cool picture there, Ron. You got the 870s almost finishing production.
Yes, those are off the assembly line waiting to go into the test booth.
And what is the testing process? You run it under load for how long?
We run every machine for at least 1 hour.
Subjecting it to full water and heat
Right.
and everything.
Heat it up, cool it down 2 or 3 times, check for leaks, check for wire routing, making sure the hoses aren't rubbing on anything. And then it leaves the test booth and it comes over to here to be packaged. Goes onto a pallet.
You get a shot of the 570 next to the 870. That's kind of neat seeing the size difference. Your water box here, is that, you can use that for more than one machine, right?
Yeah, that's a sub-mount water tank. We have a different frame that'll go on for a 370 versus a 570.
So just those two, you don't have it for the Rage or 870?
We do have a Rage that goes on this as well. The 870 is a little too big to fit on
A little too big.
Yeah.
So you're going to use a water pond with an 870.
Right. And this is where we build all our accessory items, is in here.
Now, are these tanks being rotomolded up in Washington?
These tanks actually get rotomolded right next door at a company called Mikey.
Right next door.
Yeah.
Convenient. Yeah.
So we don't have to store a lot of these tanks. We get them about a week at a time.
These charging canisters on there, can you kind of explain that? Because I know all your tanks have those. Those are creating pressure, so they...
Yeah, that's a pressure vessel, and it creates constant pressure, so you keep pressure on your pump, and your pump doesn't cavitate, and that's what causes the pumps to go out, is cavitation.
It's a long life on that pump there.
Right.
Probably isn't all that expensive a pump anyways, but is that, a $100 pump maybe?
It's probably about $100.
Yeah. Well, you got a lot of 870s waiting to go, huh?
Yeah. These just come off the assembly line, so they'll get tested, get set onto a pallet with the waste tank.
And the 870s have a new blower, right? You were using the 410 Gardner Denver, and now they're using what?
Urus blower.
Urus? Short for European, or what's that?
Yeah, I'm not. It's just the manufacturer's name is Urus.
Can we pull one of these out, maybe,
Sure.
and get a peek at that blower? What's the inch measurement on the blower now? The lobes and whatnot. What would you call it? That thing ain't light. Sorry, man. I'll pull your back.
No, that's okay.
So is that like a equivalent to a what, a
410 probably.
It looks a little bit bigger than the Gardner Denver 410.
Yeah, it's a lot beefier. The housings, castings are a lot heavier. The shaft's a bigger diameter, so it's a much heavier duty blower than what the Gardner Denver was. The CFM wise is pretty close to the same.
And wasn't Jim Bethel in Australia having you make these with like a 5.6 or a 5.9 for him for a while? They were having like a special Aussie version.
I don't remember that in an 870.
Maybe they slipped that one by you. Yeah, I don't know. He thought he'd have more of a market share out there with a bigger blower. I don't know. Apparently it didn't pan out and get into regular production.
Yeah.
So this this is a general chemical pump, right?
Correct.
Mine just got a ball valve on here. This is the same thing, right? You don't want to run chemical. You
Just shut it off.
Just shut it off. All right. What's this little release?
That's a pressure regulator for your incoming water pressure. Those are preset at the factory.
Okay.
From time to time, you may have to do a slight
There's a screen
adjustment
in
on
there
that.
too, right?
Right.
That's the one he was showing us?
Yep.
Gotcha.
And that keeps constant pressure in our water box system, so it helps the pump because it's always under pressure.
Are the belts and pulleys more accessible on the other side?
This cover will come off.
That all pulls out to
Yeah.
get to it? And it's covered now for what reason?
Just so people don't get their fingers and hands down in there while it's running.
Gotcha. Alrighty. So we got a whole bunch of water pond tanks over there in the back corner. You guys see in this room here is where they test everything. It looks like they got water hooked up. So some poor guy got to sit in there with his earplugs on and watch that thing, or you just close the roll top and let it run for an hour?
No, we've got a test technician that stays in the booth. He's got some ear muffs on for ear protection, and he'll walk around the machine as it's running, looking for leaks, looking for hose routings, heating it up, cooling it down, making sure the diverter system's working properly. And like I said, we run every machine for an hour.
What's this back door vent there? Does that go to the outside?
Yeah, that's an exhaust fan, so it'll exhaust
So it doesn't get too
all
hot
the
in there.
fumes out the back.
It's an old green tank from the Serv Pro special order or something?
Yeah, that was an old Serv Pro tank we had, so
Yeah.
sometimes we'll run two machines together if we fall behind or need to catch up in the test department.
Gotcha. And then you got a, what's that, a yellow Service Master special order?
It is, yes.
Yeah, it's nice and yellow.
Yeah.
So is it just those two big franchises that are doing custom colors, or?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Anything else you want to show us, Richard?
No, I think that pretty much completes it. The
And the
unit will
covers.
get palletized and then come over and it's ready to ship out. The loading docks and the Metro carts are emptied and go back around to start the
over
process
again, huh?
all over again.
Very impressive. Well, thanks for doing the tour.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Appreciate it.